defeat the treble-winning Blues, and the defence of their Premier League crown has hit the bumper of a Wolves victory. No question about it, Wolves should have been down to 10 in the first half when Hwang should have been given a second yellow, and then of all players it was Hwang who provided the winning goal to make it 2-1 to City. An own goal by Diaz had given Wolves a half-time lead, but then Alvarez equalised with a free kick. You thought City would go on and win the match, but it never materialised. Wolves defended superbly on and around the edge of their own area, and the man with the biggest smile in Molineux is Hwang. His goal has settled it. The final score, Wolves 2, City 1. Well, let's go back to the studio, where I think it's fair to say nobody saw this coming.
Welcome back to Matchday Live. So City have been beaten in the Premier League for the first time this season. I'm joined in the studio still by Joleon, Lescott, Mick McCarthy and by Keith Curle. Joleon, what happened today?
I don't know. Listen, you have to give a lot of credit to Wolves. They obviously had a game plan, executed it very well. And we spoke about you need 7 or 8 players to be at their very best in order to get anything from a City game. And they were. And so you have to give full credit to Wolves, to be honest.
Particularly in that second half, Mick, Wolves fought for every single ball, every single player on that pitch was just fighting non-stop. Were you impressed with them today?
Wolves were excellent. Yeah, none of us could see that coming, especially after the defeat in midweek and the way they've been going in the league. That is some performance, and as Joleon says, you need them all playing well, and they did. When the subs came on, they did a job. There's some really good performances from. And I thought the caused City problems. They had chances themselves. I know they scored the 2 goals, which have won the game. But despite the sat back, they were very good on the break.
Keith, what did you make of the game?
I think Wolves defended very well in wide areas. Semedo, but also Dawson, I thought was a rock for Wolves. And like I say, two banks of 5. And again, difficult if you're a player in the changing room and you've been working all week, you're playing against Man City, and you have to do a lot of work on your defensive work and then spend a little bit of time on say, and when we get the opportunity, we're going to catch them on the break. We need the right people to cause them a problem. I think Wolves are set up, and I think they take belief from that now that they need to do the defensive work, the organisation behind the ball, and then they've got pace. And if you're going to be a counter-attacking team, you need pace in your team, and Wolves have got that, and they've caused the best team in the country at the minute problems with it.
Yeah, we talked first before the game. We had a question about how you as defenders would hold Erling Haaland. Wolves managed to silence him today, Joleon. What did you make of the way that they handled him?
Yeah, I think Dawson especially was outstanding. Took upon himself to the challenge that not many have succeeded in, and did exceptionally well. And like we said at half time, I think it helped. The system of both teams helped him. He could be protected at certain times and then isolate himself when he was in favour, but also obviously when it was one player surrounded by 4 or 5 Wolves shirts at a time, it kind of gives you more confidence as a centre-back. But other than that, he was exceptional. When it was duels, he came out on top, and I remember one early in the first half that was a cross came in, and I don't even know how he cleared it, to be honest. He slid towards his own goal and deflected it away. So yeah, a lot of credit goes to him personally.
In terms of a few positives for City, Keith, obviously the free kick from Juleon Alvarez was a stunner.
Great free kick. I think, and again, I think probably the last 3 or 4 weeks when I've been watching, there's been a few of those occasions and you're thinking, it's got to be going in. There's a reason why he's on these free kicks. And again, great finish. I think the goalkeeper was a little bit concerned that he was going to bang himself into the post. But the placement of it, pace, power, dip in the top corner reminds me of a couple of the mixed free kicks.
Does it remind you of a couple of yours, Nick?
I used to kick the centre forward into the net, not the ball. It was a wonderful free kick that. Yeah, I just think overall, I mean, we never expected it because of the results in midweek with both having lost, but losing to Newcastle or losing to Ipswich, the team below. I just couldn't see that performance coming. But that is what's brilliant about the Premier League, because I've been there I remember being at Wolves and we beat Manchester United. We'd lost to Bolton in midweek and we were playing Manchester United. So we lost in the 95th minute. Nobody fancied us. And we won 2-1. That's what's the beauty of this league, is that there's no certainties. And to be honest, we thought it was. We were being a bit, laissez-faire about what we were going to do and a bit arrogant that Manchester City would win. and win easily. And Wolves have just shown what the Premier League's all about. It was a fabulous performance by them. Let's not underestimate them. They were terrific today. And City were below par.
We mentioned at this as well that Wolves had played well against United at the start of the season and were unlucky not to have got a result there, and we talked about how perhaps they'd been raised their game there for a big game. I suppose as a Wolves fan you're delighted if you're watching this game because you've got the win, but I guess they're also questioning then how have they not managed it until this point of the season?
Yeah, obviously there will be questions, but you take the win whenever you can, whenever you get them. But I think that the teams they play against help them. I think United and especially City, teams that want to have possession because they are a counter-attacking team and they have the pace and ball carriers to cause teams difficulties when set up that way. So I think Wolves are going to come unstuck when the emphasis is on them to dominate possession and the expectation is high in regards to possession and creating chances. But as long as they are compact and organised, they'll cause any team a problem, especially with their counter-attacking threat.
Thank you. So FG and Darius Vassell are still pitch side at Molineux Forest. Do you know what? If they've got a brolly this time, I'm just going to let them have it. What do you think, guys?
Full time at Molineux, Manchester City 2-1 losers here to the home team. Darius, we spoke before the game about the 12th man. How much of a difference did the crowd make today?
They've been absolutely brilliant today. They still are. It's been electrifying here. And I was surprised, to be honest. I thought it might be flat from the crowd. Almost impending doom, but they weren't like that. They latched on to everything good that Wolves did today, and they kept the atmosphere bubbling, and I thought it was a very contributing factor.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Pedro Neto. He had a great game down the right hand side. He made it difficult for Ake, didn't he?
Yes, certainly. He was relentless today. He showed me something that I didn't even know he had, but he's always been pacey, but I didn't know he had that kind of pace where he was going to beat somebody over 40 yards like Nathan Ake, and he got through. He didn't really score, but he was the reason why Wolves scored. I thought it was an own goal, but he did the work that counted, and he was non-stop all day.
And let's talk, of course, about the equaliser. Brilliant free kick from Alvarez. I mean, that it looked like today we were a little bit flat in front of goal. We didn't really create many clear-cut chances, and when we were going to get a goal, it had to be something special, and that was a great free kick, wasn't it?
I think that sums it up. It was flat. They were waiting for somebody to do something special. I think the special players that they had on the pitch, which is a lot, were looked after quite well today. We mentioned how well Craig Dawson looked after the old number 9 there. He done really well. So I think it was one of them where City let that game go and then they'll have to go again.
They absolutely will have to go again. We'll be back in action in the Champions League, and it's just a case of the action doesn't stop for the treble winners. Straight into the UEFA Champions League away at Leipzig. They need a result now, don't they?
This is a good thing. They've got plenty of games to bounce back. I'm pretty sure that they'll want to get this one out of the way as quick as possible, get Pep back involved with the team, and I'm sure it'll be different when they play that game at Leipzig, I'm sure.
How much of a factor do you think that was, not having Pep Guardiola on the touchline?
Well, I was up in the press box and I looked down straight away, because normally you see the activity when it's not going well for City. You can see the boss there coordinating, getting things going, and it wasn't happening today. Wherever he wasn't getting the message on in the same way it normally gets on.
Well, Pep will be back in the dugout for the game in Germany. All is not lost. We lost plenty of games last season. We had a little bit of a blip and it became a very, very good season for us. But the treble winners will be back in the Champions League. From pitch side, from Darius Vassell and myself, FG. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks to FG and to Darius Vassell, their pitch side at Molineux. Do you know what? I'm going to ask Mick about what Darius just said, but as a manager, Darius reckons that there was an effect for City there because Pep wasn't on the sideline. What do you make up, because he was in the stand?
Possibly. Well, yes, because I sat in the stand once and I came down after about 15 minutes. I couldn't stand it. I don't think it has an effect. I think it was when Jack Grealish was on, it lifted the crowd. Was it Nunes, first of all, when that was on, they were booing him? I thought it galvanised Wolves today. All those things galvanised Wolves. And I don't think we should talk about Manchester City being a poor performance. Yes, they were below par. But if I'm going to wax lyrical about Wolves, and not because I was there, if I was reporting on it, I'd be saying how well they played. And I think it's wrong of anybody else to say, well, Manchester City. Wolves stopped them. And they were excellent. And to be honest, in the end of it, they deserved the victory.
Keith, when you have been managing, have you ever had to go into the stands and felt an effect?
I've been sent to the stands.
Never.
For a confrontation with an opposition manager at one stage. Again, like Mick, I tried it once to go and sit in the stand, and I think I lasted 4 minutes. because my assistant manager won't pick his phone up, and I'm like, no chance, I'm going back down. So no, yeah, again, does that have an effect? The manager, yeah, Pep's got a presence. Yeah, but and he can not so much influence players and make players play better, but his presence on the side, the little things that he sees straight away, and he can implement them straight away. Difficult when by the time he's got his message down onto the side of the pitch, the moment's gone.
He can have an influence over the other bench, you know, just in being there, just his presence. You know, you stood next to this great manager, and they have got a presence.
But like Mick said, you have to give credit to Wolves because Pep has missed games this season. He's missed 2 games due to surgery, so that wasn't a factor today. It does have an impact, obviously, but like Mick said, Wolves were exceptional today.
They'll not be happy with that performance, quite clearly. It's way below par for Manchester City, but I think on the day you have to give Wolves the credit for how they approached it and doing what they've done, they've won.
We don't often lose a game, but to lose 2 in a week, Joleon, feels really weird. Are you worried at all?
No. In what aspect of we're still the favourites in every competition we're involved in, but I think this start is still better than last season in regards to the league. So much football to be played. I don't think you can overanalyse a result and be worried to a certain extent. Yeah, obviously losing 2 games in a week is not nice and it hurts a lot more, and you just want the next game to come and put it right. But I'm sure in the next 2 or 3 games, and whenever they play, they'll be favourites, and the team will have to be at their very best to get anything out of the game.
I'm desperately worried they might be looking for a scapegoat. I might not get invited back first time I get beat.
True, the special one came and just like disrupted it.
The special one.
I know, what we'll have to do is we'll have to have a meeting without you, Mick, and decide if we're inviting you back.
All right.
Yes.
Just do it in the group chat so we can see.
Well, the games do continue to come thick and fast for City. The opportunity to bounce back will be Wednesday night as we take on RB Leipzig in the Champions League. It is our second group stage game, our first away game of the tournament, where we look to try and retain our trophy. I'll never get tired of saying that. So RB Leipzig played Young Boys in the first game and beat them. In terms of them currently in Germany, they're sitting 5th in their league, although they've only been beaten once. And tonight they play Bayern Munich. So that is a 5:30 kickoff. So you'll probably all want to keep a little eye out and see how they do there. Of course, we've got history with RB Leipzig as well. We seem to play them a lot. We played them last year. We gave them a nice hammering last year. That was quite nice. And of course, we got Guardiola from them in the summer. So in terms of Wednesday night, Keith, what sort of game are you expecting?
Again, I think it's on the back of 2 defeats. I think the important thing is going from a manager's coaching point of view. Yeah, when you lose, you've got to learn. And again, there was things you can never say that City have never faced a defensive set-up team. They've had that before, but I think Mick mentioned it there. We weren't quite at it today, and that needs to change.
I wonder if the RB Leipzig fans will treat Guardiola the way that the Wolves fans booed and shouted at Núñez today, Mick, because of course he'll be going back to his former club as well.
Yeah, they probably will. And you know, he said, we asked us about what it's like for us going back. When you go back to the club, you want to go back and prove them wrong. You want to go back and win and say, well, when he's a great player, we should never let him go. But the punters are going to give him stick. Of course they are. I'll be disappointed if they don't, anyway.
It's a sign of respect.
It is, yeah.
True. Obviously, we had that huge win over them last season. Do you think that'll still be playing on their mind, or they want to be trying to correct that?
No, listen, I think they'll be grateful that defeat came and City went on to win the competition, because it's always nice to say, well, we got hammered by the winners. Do you know what I mean? So in regards to that, they won't be dwelling on that. They'll be focused on this week and be worried about the impact or the reaction that the team has due to 2 defeats now rather than the defeat last season.
In terms of the team for Wednesday night, is anybody stood out for you today? You expect any changes from today's team?
I'm sure Rodri will come back into the team, available. Think he's a miss. Whether we kind of want to recognise that or not, I think he has a massive impact, massive influence on attack and defence, not just defensively. Who else? I don't know how close John Stones is to playing, but listen, whoever Pep selects is going to be a strong team. There's never a weakened team, is there? So, yeah.
They need the lads today who have played, don't they? I think what highlights for me in terms of the Manchester City performance is Phil Foden, who I think is brilliant. And I was really looking forward to watching him today. I can't remember a real forward-thinking thing he did. It was really tough for him playing in there. They were real narrow. There was no room for him to play. And when he doesn't have a kick, really, in a game or a good game, you know how tough it's been. And I think the lads who've played are going to have to pull them. They'll pick themselves up. They'll be.
And again, I think it's not taken as a negative saying that Phil didn't do well. Again, I think the credit goes to Wolves because they
absolutely
denied spaces excellently. Two banks of five, and again, it's not easy to do. Because I remember it was a Scottish manager that set his team up to 2 banks of five and got absolutely criticism saying he didn't want to go out to win a game.
Yeah.
So again, but I think all the players today, there's another yard in them.
I have to admit, when Joleon reminded me that Rodri can play in the Champions League, I got a nice warm feeling in my stomach because I love that man, and I'm going to feel a lot safer in the knowledge that he is going to be. We expect he'll play Wednesday night.
We all do. When your good players are ready to play and can play, it's a really good feeling, believe me. And the first thing you do if they're not playing is you're trying to get the best out of the ones that are. But even the players themselves, when we played, if one of the good players who we all like comes back, you feel better about it. We all get that feeling as well as footballers.
He's such a pivotal part of the team as well, Keith. I mean, I imagine as well, because he's missed these 2 games that we've lost as well. I bet he's going to come in like an absolute powerhouse on Wednesday. Yeah,
he's got a level of consistency. He's got a calmness, and again, he's a player that's got presence that you need. The Wednesday night, different competition, different mindset, and probably a good thing, a good distraction to have, whereby now you go in, you pick over the bones of today's performance, then very quickly the focus is on Wednesday. Big game, need to win.
So, of course, Matchday Live will be back with you on Wednesday. I'll be in the studio with Naden, with Sean Wright-Phillips, fresh from his treble trophy tour around the world. And
it's his fault because he's away. That's what we'll blame. We'll blame him. We won't blame Mick. We'll blame Sean.
And he hoped I'd get beat today because he thinks I'm a Wolves fan.
I'm also going to be joined by Steph Horton. Of course, the women's season starts tomorrow, so it'll be wonderful to talk to her. FG and Michael Brown are flying out to Germany, so they'll be giving us all the action from pitchside out there as well. Now, we've got an interview for you post-match with Oscar Bobb. Here's what he thought of today's game.
Oscar, many commiserations. I mean, obviously not the result we wanted this afternoon. What's your assessment of the game and what happened?
Tough game against a good team, and we're all a bit disappointed now, of course. But should have done more, I guess.
I mean, we dominated possession and territory shots. Does that just add to the sense of frustration for the guys, I guess?
Yeah, but again, I don't think we created as big of chances today, so of course not how we wanted it to be, but it's frustrating.
Got to ask, I mean, obviously when you came on at half-time, it really gave us a bit of impetus, and once we got the equaliser through Joleon, it felt like we would be the team to kick on and get the goal. Is that how it felt for you out on the pitch?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously bad to concede again. That put our spirits down, but we've pushed for it and unfortunately didn't get it.
And what's the message now, sort of at full time? Obviously frustration, but it's important to keep things in perspective, isn't it? I mean, 6 wins out of 7 and we still made a really positive start to the season.
Yeah, it's Leipzig next, so big game ahead, and then Arsenal, so only thinking forward.
And can you ask from your own perspective, Oscar, I mean, you made your first start in midweek at Newcastle, played ever so well there and made a real positive contribution this afternoon when you came on. How pleased are you with the way things are going from your own perspective at the moment?
Good, obviously I don't know, it's not the greatest feeling now losing, but I want to keep pushing for more.
And obviously, I guess today's result is another reminder why the Premier League is the most competitive league in the world, isn't it? I mean, every game is so difficult.
Yeah, some of their players today, wow. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, they had a lot of quality.
And one thing about this club is, though, that we never get too carried away with positive results, and it's important not to get too down after a setback as well, because the nature is we always respond in the right way, don't we?
Oh yeah, we've played 7-8 games this season. It's almost could be 50 left, so it's just a start.
And finally, like you said, Oscar, it's the start of a big week. I mean, going to Leipzig in midweek in the Champions League and then Arsenal away in the Premier League. I mean, those two big games probably just what we wanted after a frustrating afternoon like today.
Yeah, gives us the chance to prove that we're still the best team. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time and many commiserations again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Oscar Bob there for chatting to us post-match. A couple of updates to give you on our other teams. The EDS played West Ham today and they drew 2-2. And of course, the WSL season starts tomorrow. So very, very best of luck to our women's team in their opening game tomorrow. We are doing a special match day live for their first home game of the season next week against Chelsea. So really, really looking forward to that as well. We also all want to give a shout out to our friend Dakota Ditchiver. She is fighting this evening. Look, oh my Joleon, look at her. She's ripped. She is fighting in the PFL semi-final tonight. She is fighting against Cornelia Home, and she put on her Instagram earlier that she thinks she's fighting sort of between about 8 and 8:30. So I will be watching. We will be watching. Big shout out to Dakota. She wore her City shirt for her weigh-in.
Nice.
Obviously. So very, very best of luck to Dakota for her fight this evening. Keith, thank you so much for coming on again. Mick, if the group decides, are you coming back?
I would love to come back, but I'll await your decision.
Thank you. Have a good time in Abu Dhabi next week for the trophy tour.
Yep.
Lovely. Yep. So if you're out there, go and say hi to Joleon. Thank you all for joining us again. Of course, Matchday Live will be back before our game on Wednesday. Before we go, though, we're going to give you a little sneak preview of the incredible documentary that is coming out next week that followed our women's team around last season. Best of luck for them for their opening game in the WSL tomorrow. We'll see you on Wednesday.
We know that when we play our best football, no one can beat us.
I like what I'm seeing from the players at the moment.
The WSL is the most competitive league in the world.
The players that we have, if we get close to the goal, then we've got a chance of scoring absolutely every single time.
It's more than just a game of football sometimes.
It's probably a lot of votes from my mum and dad.
We have a lot more games to come, so hopefully, I could break that record.
Bunny shot! It had to be Bunny.
We have to show that nasty side where you have to be aggressive in your tackle.
And when we need to, we fight.
No matter what they come with, they ain't beating us.
The atmosphere and the culture that we have within the team is really, really special.
It's going to be one heck of a run-in, and City are very much in the thick of it.